Welcome to the Seattle Sports Union Podcast. My name is Abraham DeWeese. I'm back again with the Soulman, Brian Solack, and we have a very special guest today with us, Luke Arkins. Luke, you're here to talk some baseball, and we're here to absorb and bow at the altar of Luke Arkins.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. That's a pretty high praise. I don't know if I can live up to that, but I will do my best.
I'm speaking mostly for Brian. Brian's the one who is at the Luke Arkins altar constantly. Okay. So I just wanted to give a quick shout out to that damn dirty duck, Matt Paige. He's producing today. And why don't we get right into it? This was an amazing year for the Mariners. One that I didn't see coming because of my exceptional cynicism towards this team. But they did the right thing. They got some key pieces they've built over the years. Luke, what's it like to actually see a winner this year? An actual team that had a chance to go to the World Series.
Yeah, it was quite a surprise. I mean, I will admit I did pick them to win the division.
Oh.
I picked the Blue Jays to win the American League East, too.
Oh.
I didn't get much else right. I think I picked the Dodgers to win the West, but, that's not really saying a whole lot. Yeah, it's nice. It was nice to see it. It was, I think the fan base certainly deserved it. It was encouraging to see ownership pony up to allow the front office to pick up players like Josh Naylor and Eugenio Suarez at the deadline. And certainly, their run in the postseason was dramatic, seat of your pants sort of drama, and it was wonderful to behold.
It reminds you why baseball can be fun. I thought it's a day by day, it's day to day watching the sport, and even the Grinchiest of Grinches like myself can have their heart open 3 times bigger, and then have it slammed in my face. Have that door slammed in my face. I got suckered again. I got suckered. Every year this happens, guys. I get suckered every year.
It happens to you all the time, Abraham.
Well, yeah, it's even in the regular season, you watch Cal Raleigh, and what a special season that was. I don't know that he'll ever repeat that, but we'll always have those memories. A guy he hits 60 home runs, more home runs than any switch hitter, more home runs than any catcher. He really was the anchor for the Mariners. His bat sort of cooled off in the second half, but he still kept hitting home runs. And he continued to post and play nearly every day to a remarkable level. Those are sort of memories that'll stick with you even when the team doesn't go as far as you'd like to go.
Should Cal Raleigh have won MVP?
Well, I'm pretty unpopular in this area. I thought Aaron Judge should win it. But if he had won it, if Cal had won it, I wouldn't have thought it was a robbery either. I think both were deserving of consideration, and the fact that the first place votes were split like they were tells you that Cal deserved to be right there in it. I have a really good friend in New York. He's a diehard Yankee fan. I've known him since I was 10 years old, and he was asking me about Cal Raleigh, and he was very impressed with it. He doesn't get into all the hype that a lot of Yankee fans do, where it's just everything is Yankees. But at the end of our conversation, I think we both agreed that Judge deserved it. But that doesn't diminish anything that Cal Raleigh did. It's just, it's just sort of the way it goes. Like Judge is the best hitter in baseball right now, and probably a Hall of Famer. So it's not like he's losing to somebody who was a flash in the pan or anything like that.
Right on. You had the Mariners winning the division from the beginning, so shout out to you. You got that right. I got it way wrong. But
were there fair, I predict the most years to win the division. Not every year, but many years. I predicted them last year too, and I was close. I think it wasn't like they were way out of it. It was just, but this year I thought that the Astros were ready to take a big step back, which they did do. And I didn't think the Rangers did enough in the offseason. and then the other two teams just are not. They're not there yet.
That's awesome. I was actually going to ask you that. I was going to ask you to give me what data drove you to think that the Mariners was going to get there, and then what in the feels. It sounds like the feels were that the other teams weren't going to be good enough to compete. Was there any data points that you looked at the beginning of the season that said
the Astros pitching just was so suspect? You know, they had Framber Valdez, and then what's his name, Hunter Brown, who were excellent. But after that, it really got squishy, and they struggled with that all year, and that played a big role, I think, in their fallback as the season goes on. And I think that's the case. You know, I'm a believer that the rotations drive success, and that doesn't mean if you have 5 great starters, you're going to win your division, because the 2024 Mariners did not win their division. But if you have a strong rotation, a starting rotation, then it's a lot easier to contend. You just need to be, you know, maybe a top 12 offense or somewhere like that. You don't even have to be elite. You just have to be good. And I didn't think that the Astros had that. And of course, with Altuve a year older, that certainly didn't help. And of course, losing Alvarez for a huge chunk of time was a big minus. And so was trading away Kyle Tucker, which I thought was insane. You know, teams that trade away a pending free agent, I don't know how you view them as a serious contender. So, you know, I mean, I know the Astros are very good. They have a very good legacy, but to trade away a player like that for the future when you still have a chance to win, it feels like the Mariners. So, you know, and the Astros have made some strange decisions in the last few years. And that's why, in general, that's why I didn't think they were a strong shot. And ironically, the Rangers had very good pitching until it started to break down. But they just didn't have enough offense to boost themselves.
Right on. I'm going to sway off the Mariners just for a quick second. I got a personal question to ask you. You recently were named co-guardian of a girl named Bug. Will you please share what I'm talking about?
Well, to keep the story short, I have a niece who lives in the Tri-Cities with her grandmother, and she's had some challenges in life. She lost her mother in 2020, and since then she lost an uncle. Her mother was my wife's sister, and then my wife's brother died, and he lived with my niece and his parents. He died about 7 months later in 2021, and then last year my wife passed away from colon cancer, and then this past January her grandfather passed away, who she lived with her grandmother, and so she's lost a lot of people in her life. And when I was over there for her funeral, for her grandfather's funeral, my father-in-law's funeral, she pointed out to me her concerns about what would happen to her if something happened to her grandmother, which is natural for a 15-year-old girl to feel that way. And so I decided I should step in and become a co-guardian with her grandmother, so that, you know, she will have a stable home and be able to stay in the Tri-Cities and go to the same high school, stay with her friends, and just having a chance to thrive in her teen years, which are challenging enough, as we all know.
Yep.
And particularly for girls in this day and age. And so that's what I decided to do.
You wrote an article about her and your wife and everything you just mentioned back in April, I believe. And
yeah,
that I'm the emotional one, I guess, of the group, I guess, because they flip me crap all the time. But that had me almost in tears. That was pretty special what you wrote, so I appreciate that. I just want to let you know that.
Thank you. Yeah, it was just something I wanted to write. So the newsletter, My Life with Carrie, is separate from my baseball newsletter, the Mariner Consigliere. And it's a free Substack, and it doesn't have a lot of subscribers. It's just people who know my wife, and it's just my way of keeping my wife's memory going. One of her biggest fears was that people would forget her, and so obviously I'm never going to forget her, and my niece is never going to forget her. But I thought a great way to just put out how great a person she was to write about some of the things that went on in our life, in our romance. How we met, the first time I told her I loved her, and how she said thank you, and waited a month to reciprocate. To the story about my niece, who we called Bug, and how she fell in love with this little girl after meeting her the first time in July of 2010, and so that's really why I do that.
Okay. One last thing, and then we'll move on. But you always talked about your wonderful wife, Carrie, and all these amazing sports stories, and how she's amazing. Like, for example, Seattle Mariners fan. And do you have maybe one story you could share? You don't mind sharing about maybe a Mariners game you went with her, or Seahawks, or whatever it is that you could share?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to pick one, I guess.
Yeah.
I remember the first time. So I met my wife in January of 2010. And so that opening day, I went. By then, we were boyfriend, girlfriend, and I went to opening day with her. It'd been like the 10th consecutive year she'd been there. I think she'd been there every year since T-Mobile Safeco Field, T-Mobile Park had opened.
Okay.
And I remember she said to me, and this was a steadfast rule for every big ceremony, whether it was a number retirement or a Hall of Fame induction or whatever, is asses in seats 10 minutes before the ceremony starts. And I remember her just telling me that as we went to opening day, like asses in seats 10 minutes before everything starts. And that was just there's just so many things. We had so many great memories. When Felix retired, or not retired, when that last game he left the field, and everybody was crying. I was crying, and she was crying, and like it's just I remember coming home before. I guess it was after the 2010 season. Was that when? I think that's when. I'm trying to remember when did Dave Niehaus die, but I remember I came home from work, and she was crying, and she's telling me that Dave Niehaus had passed away. And I wasn't very familiar with him because I wasn't a Mariners fan before. And I remember going with her to the ball field where they had a memorial ceremony for him, and just walking on the field there. And I remember Rick Riz thanking everybody personally as we went by. And I remember Howard Lincoln was there, and Chuck Armstrong, and just to see how beloved he was. And what really struck me, I remember we were leaving the field, leaving the stadium, and there was this older person, and he was by himself, and he was just, he had a Mariners jacket on, and like he was just going home, and like you could clearly, this is somebody who listened to Dave Niehaus all the time, and just felt a connection to him and to the Mariners, and he just had to be there. And there were so many people like that day, and it was really, really touching. And it's just so many things like that with my wife. She just loved the Mariners, and one last thing I'll say is, so we were, my wife was in hospice. She went into hospice in early August of 2024, and we were at home. And so we had the bed, basically where I'm sitting in the dining room is where the bed was, and she could see our TV, and the Mariners are on. And like she still was watching the Mariners. And I remember Jesse Winkler, we were playing the Mets, and Jesse Winkler comes up to the plate, and so she kind of like puts her glasses on, and she looks up, and she said, well, this will be interesting. Because I don't think she realized that he was on the Mets at that point. I mean, she lost a little track of what was going on with the teams, but yeah. It was just so funny. And here she is really at the end of her life, and she still looked up and like, oh, this is going to be interesting. So, yeah. So anyway, I could go on forever. I don't want to do that. Obviously, that's everybody's not that interested in this stuff, but she was really the kind of fan that teams like the Mariners should be grateful to have. And she's not alone. Like there's just thousands of people like that. And a lot of people have stories about, a lost loved one who was a diehard Mariner fan. And certainly that's why I wanted the Mariners to win the World Series this year, was for her.
Yeah.
Not for me. It's just I was a Met fan. I am a Met fan. I've seen my team win and lose the World Series. But for all these people who never got a chance to see the Mariners that passed away, the survivors want them to win for that reason. So.
Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate it.
Yeah, that's really cool. So you used to be a Mets fan, huh?
I still am. But I'm more embedded in the Mariners. But I'm still a Mets fan. I watch a lot of Met games during the regular season. I have MLB TV, and I'll watch them. I'll watch the Mets before the Mariners come on most days.
Actually, can I ask you about that MLB TV? I know we don't have it on our outline, Brian. I just am very curious.
That's fine.
To get an opinion here. The ESPN, I guess, is taking over the local rights for the Mariners. Have you heard anything? And do you think that's good for this team, or is that going to be a problem?
I don't know anything about it. I would assume it's just going to be business as usual. You're going to see the same faces, employees of the team, which are
okay. That's good. I was worried that
Angie and Hyphen and on TV, and then of course I don't know what they'll do for what you call a studio show like they do. I don't know what Brad Adam and I know Jen Mueller has already said she's not coming back, but right. I don't know what they're doing on that aspect of it. The radio side is going to remain the same because they're all employees of the team, and that's I don't think that's going to change. What the product will look like, we'll see. ESPN has all the hockey too, and like you just put it on if you're out of the area and you like the Kraken, you just watch the Kraken. You watch John and Bedzo and JT doing the games on the TV as if it's. It's as if you're watching it here at home.
I don't know. I realize it might be a little old-fashioned, but I like the hometown touch, and it'd be a bummer if the post-game or the pre-game is some national, talking.
Oh, I doubt it. I might be wrong, but I don't think they'll do that. I mean, baseball is so regional. It's not like football or anything else. Like people really only care about their own team. For the most part, so nobody is going to really tune in. I don't think. I could be 100% wrong. I might, but I think they'll just stick with the way it is, and maybe perhaps on the other side of the CBA agreement, they will come to a new format for how they broadcast and stream Major League Baseball across the league.
Okay. We got the winter meetings coming up, and obviously everybody knows that Josh Naylor is returning to Seattle, but what do you see the Mariners? Are they going to make any moves, do you think, in the next few weeks? What are your thoughts?
I would think they're going to make some moves. They certainly need to make some moves. I know sometimes on Twitter I tend to be not the curmudgeon, but sort of I kind of resist the trend of praising the team for something when it's not like they signed Josh Naylor. They needed to sign Josh Naylor.
Yeah.
Good. When they re-signed Josh Naylor, they're still not as good as they were when they lost ALCS. Gino's gone. Polanco's gone. They've lost a couple relievers. That's not. They have a bit to go, and they weren't good enough to win the ALCS. So I would think they're going to do something. Now, when you look at their up-and-coming players, there's certainly there's an appetite to try to integrate some of those players somewhere in there. As you look at each league in 2022, you had, was it 2021? You had Cal Raleigh come up, 2022, Julio came up. I'm starting to get the players, what years they came up. And then the following year, I think it was Brian Wu and Bryce Miller. And so they have added young players, homegrown players each year with varying levels of success. I don't think the players that came up like last year or this year had a lot of impact, although they did see some playing time like Cole Young or Leo Rivas and players like that. But they certainly need to add something in the infield. Okay, so first base, you can feel pretty good about first base. But second base, Polanco's gone. He really wasn't a first or second baseman from a defensive standpoint. He could certainly, stand out there a few games a week. But he looks more like a designated hitter, even if he did come back. Cole Young, he's a young player, and his defense wasn't great, and perhaps he can improve. He didn't have a significant amount of second base experience, like in the minors, but he was not. His range was not particularly good at second base, and maybe that's just he needs repetition. And his bat was, kind of disappeared, and he seemed to disappear at the end of the season too. He didn't play very often. I think he was left off the postseason roster, if I'm right.
Yeah.
And in third base, they went out and got Gino because Ben Williamson was just not producing offensively. He was a good defender. I don't know that he's not like the second coming of Brooks Robinson or something like that. He's a good defender, but it's not enough to carry that offense. And so, his issue is he just doesn't make significantly good contact. He doesn't make enough quality contact, what I would call barrels. And so, what do you do there? Do you give him another shot? I actually advocated for getting Gino in the summer, but thinking, well, you're going to have the guy for the rest of the year, and you still could turn back to Williamson. You're not giving up on Williamson. If the team was wanting to go back to him, they could do so next year. But to do that at two positions seems like a risky move for a team that was so close to the World Series. That really needs some work. Now, we'll see how that plays out. I don't think they're going to sign big names. I don't think you're going to see Alex Bregman go to third base or somebody like that, because they're not going to want to. First off, I don't think they want to obligate that kind of money. But second, I don't think they want to block any of the young guys like Colt Emerson from coming up and joining the team, because there's some veteran that's just entrenched for the next 4 years at a particular position in the infield.
Right. Hey, Luke, so help me out with my pronunciation, but your newsletter is, your moniker is the Mariners Consigliere?
Consigliere.
Consigliere, yes.
Yeah.
And on that Luke Arkins at Substack.com, you had 4 outfielders that you said we should be looking at. So if you had the $30 million that Dipoto does, which one of those players might you get?
Well, I like Stephen Kwan the most. He's not going to cost you $30 million of the 4. So it was Stephen Kwan, Ronald Acuna Jr.,
Sharon
Duran,
and Alec Burleson.
Yeah, Alec Burleson on the Cardinals. And Burleson's probably more of a DH. He can play first base. He's left-handed. He can play both corners. So there's some value to that. You don't necessarily need a first baseman, but Josh Naylor has had his challenges staying healthy, so it wouldn't hurt to have another guy that can help there and play in the outfield and DH. But I would go with Kwan first. Kwan is really, his superpower is he's a superbly well-rounded player. Like he doesn't have a lot of power, but he gets on base. He's arguably the best left fielder in baseball defensively, and perhaps one of the top defenders in outfield defenders also. And he's not a particularly fast player, but he's an exceptional base runner. And so he's the kind of guy that would fit nicely on the Mariners as a leadoff hitter, or top of the lineup guy. I like Duran a lot too. He did drop off a lot this season compared to last 2024. That is, and I think probably some fans in Boston are like, well, he's never going to repeat what he did in 2024, and that may be true. But he was basically a 4-win player this year, a top 40 value if you use FWAR. And what team couldn't use a guy like that? Certainly the Mariners could use it. A guy like that. He's not the defender that Kwan is, but he's still an exceptional ball player, very fast. I don't know that he's going to lead the league in triples if he plays at T-Mobile Park, but he is he can steal bases. He can he can run and defend, and he can get on base. And so another guy that would fit nicely for a few years, probably not, like it will cost you players, but it's not going to cost you a lot of money. And then Acuna, I added him knowing that that's probably not going to happen. You know, if I were the Braves, unless they're sort of tired of him for some reason, which I wouldn't understand. I don't know. Like he's making about what Julio's making and Cal Raleigh's making. So for several more years. So he's a relatively inexpensive player. His issue has been staying healthy. He's had multiple ACL surgeries on his knees. His speed and defense have paid for that. But when he's healthy, he's arguably one of the top 5 hitters in baseball. And so, yeah, it would be great to have a guy like that, put him in right field, knowing his defense isn't as good as it used to be, but still pretty good, not a disaster. But, yeah, I'm on the Braves. I don't know why I would trade that guy. Unless, like I say, unless he's sort of become a problem in the clubhouse or something like that, which is, I guess, is always possible. We don't know those things. We hear things, but that doesn't. Most of that stuff I think we hear, I don't think is true anyway.
Right, and he would cost the farm, right?
He would cost more, yes, because he's not. You know, I mean, I don't know if it costs a farm. I mean, it's hard to. I've never been good at figuring out what exactly what a player is worth, whether in prospects or cash or in major league talent. But he's going to cost you more than Kwan, and you're going to have to pay Acuna more.
Okay.
And again, why would Cleveland trade Kwan unless they're just trying to push down payroll? But they're not really, other than Jose Ramirez, they're not really. There's nobody else that's really getting paid a lot. So there's a decent chance that Cleveland's not going to move Kwan either. So,
okay. I'm moving on to starting pitching. Jason Churchill mentioned recently on one of his podcasts. By the way, I know he adores you. I'm sure you already know that, but I had to throw that in there. But he says you want more starting pitching on this ball club. And to me, it sounded like he disagreed. Would you care to share your thoughts on that?
Well, he doesn't know what he's talking about. So.
Nice.
No, he's one of my best friends. So
I know.
He's the one that got me going in this. So no, I just I'm risk averse with pitchers. I probably alone on this island, and I don't care. I just look at the 5 guy. I call them the core 5, right? Castillo, Kirby, Miller, Wu, and Kirby. Did I say Kirby twice? And Logan Gilbert, right? So those are your core 5. So 2 years ago, they made nearly all the starts for the team. This last year, the only guy that made 30 starts was Castillo. All the starts, 32. Wu made 30, and then I think it was Gilbert who made 25, right? So there was a big drop off. And so what happened is Logan Evans and Emerson Hancock, they made, I think, 31 combined starts, had an ERA around 4.8, and opponents had an OPS just under 800 against them. So to me, trading a starter is risky, particularly when you look at the health history of the guys, the core 5. I mean, 2 guys had elbow-related injuries. What are the odds that they don't end up missing a year with that surgery that we all hate?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I hate to be. I'm kind of doom and gloom guy, and I acknowledge that. And so that's a consideration. Then Wu got through the season, didn't go on the IL, but he did miss his last 2 starts, and then he didn't pitch until to the end of the playoffs and only in relief, which certainly hurt their chances in the postseason. If you had Wu starting games in the way he had pitched for most of the season, that could have been a game changer in the postseason for the Mariners.
Yeah.
So I'm just risk averse about moving any of these guys to clear payroll or to act like that everything's just fine with them. So I know Jason doesn't agree with me, and that's fine.
I don't have to agree with him either. So,
a question about Julio Rodriguez. What will it take for Mariners fans to realize he was the top-ranked center fielder in baseball last year. There's such a sour attitude towards him.
I don't know what the deal is. They say, well, he's overpaid. No, he's not. He's like, no. I mean, I don't know what the numbers are right now, but last year about 17 and a little over 17 million. I think he was ranked like 60th in baseball. 60th. The people, even the naysayers, do they think he's not a top 60 talent? Like he's an outstanding ball player. He wants to be here. His contract is, he bet on himself, and he's going to make more. Like we'll see if he ends up staying with the Mariners. We'll see how that all plays out. But he's I forget what he's already up to. Like for every every time he finishes like top 5 or top 10 in certain categories, like MVP and Silver Slugger and those type awards or All-Star selections, once he accrues so many of those, there's an escalator clause in what his average annual salary will be in the second phase of his contract, assuming the Mariners pick that up. So he's getting more expensive just based on what he's doing. I understand the hate. Like, I don't know what it is. I think it's because people think he was going to be the second coming of Ken Griffey Jr. or something. He's an outstanding ball player. And if the Mariners let him go tomorrow, there'd be a all-out war for 29 other teams to sign him. Do you think the Dodgers would take him? The Mets? The Yankees? I mean, just go down the line of the big spenders, the big contenders. Any team would take him. He's a great ball player.
I wonder if typically he has a bad April and that's what they see right off the beginning of the season, or if he just lacks a signature moment.
Well, it's probably something about the signature moment. And as far as the slow starts, I wrote about it this year. He was pretty good on the road early in the season. It was really at home where he struggled. But then in the second half, which is second half Julio. So yeah, because he started hitting at home.
Right.
I mean, it's like he was good all year. If you look at his numbers, he was very good in the first few months of the season. If you just look at his road numbers and compared him to other players, he was right. It's like a top 15 player. He was very good. I don't know. I can't explain that other than we know the ballpark it depresses offense more than any other ballpark, and certainly early in the year, that's a challenge for all hitters. Which it'll be interesting to see how Josh Naylor does in the spring. I know he says he loves to hit in Seattle, but he hasn't in the past, so we'll see. Hopefully he hits well.
Fair enough. Manager Dan Wilson's first full season as manager. What grade would you give him, and why?
I got to admit, I'm not a big fan of Dan Wilson. Nothing personal or anything like that. I just, I don't know. Again, I could be completely wrong. I don't know that he's detail oriented. I think that's an important aspect of managing from the outside looking in. Again, probably more importantly is how the players view him, and if they respond to him and his leadership, and that's what really matters. If I had to give a grade, I guess I'd give him a C. Because I do have gripes about some of the things he does, but then again, they made it to the ALCS, so he deserves credit for that too, right? If they were lousy, you would blame him for it, so you have to give him credit for the fact that they went that far.
Yeah.
And I do think he should have went with Munoz in Game 7, but I view mistakes made by managers or decisions that blow up in the manager's face on the same level as I view a player who makes an error in the field or misses a sign or does something that hurts the team too. It's like one event. There are other events, other opportunities for the Mariners to win games, and they didn't win games. And so it's a team failure. It's not just Dan Wilson making a decision in the 6th inning that I think everybody else thought he should have done something else on.
Okay.
Right. Hey, so if we look at the farm, talking Everett specifically, talking also Tacoma, are there some players that you're excited that you'd like to tell all our fans, like, get on down there to the minor leagues and check these guys out?
Well, I'll be frank. I'm not a super big prospect guy,
Okay.
so I probably can't give you an adequate answer. I could BS you and blurt out some names, and then you're like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
Well, can I give you two names like Colt Emerson and Harry Ford? Do you think they are MLB ready, or is there more they got to work on?
Well, it seemed like I get the sense that the Mariners are going to give Emerson a chance, like they gave Julio a few years ago to make the team, and that seems fair. I think Harry Ford is a unique situation as a catcher. When you have the best catcher in baseball, arguably the best catcher in baseball on your team, I think he's 22, going on 23-year-old catcher, he's probably not going to play very often. And so how do you reconcile that? So I don't know if he's 100% ready. I mean, Cal Raleigh wasn't ready when he came up. If everybody remembers how he was sent back down, and I think it was Tom Murphy getting injured is what ended up having him be recalled right after he was sent down. And what was that, 2021, I think? So, that's kind of where I sit on those guys. I hope for the best for both guys. I do wonder how the team is going to utilize Harry Ford. His value may be in the trade market, which is possible with any of the young guys.
With Cal Raleigh, only because you brought him up, I'm going to throw this out there. Little known fact, he stood me and our producer, Matthew Paige, back in 2018 up for an interview when he was with Everett Aqua Sox. But we've learned to forgive him, especially after this year. But I had to throw that out there.
Yeah, he's okay. Yeah, he certainly is. He was at the UW game at the UW Oregon game on Saturday, and he was wearing UW stuff. And I was thinking, man, what is this FSU his compadres think of that? And he's there wearing a how does that work?
Washington can actually get into the playoffs. Florida State can never get in the playoffs, even if they win all their games.
Yeah, but Cal Raleigh's just a unique character, and the Mariners and organization and the fan base are fortunate to have him. I will say that before he signed that extension last year, I wrote a piece saying I don't think it makes sense to sign him to an extension. It's not that I didn't think he's a good player, and it's not that I didn't want him to stay a Mariner. It's just I don't think the extension kicks into like he's 30 or 31, I think.
Yeah.
And so by then we'll see what his legs are like and how he's performing. I mean, it seems like he takes good care of himself and all that. It's just catcher is such a brutal position. I am glad the Mariners were able to get him more time at DH this year than they had done in the past. And that's probably why it makes sense to have maybe a more experienced catcher to be the backup instead of Ford. But again, there's a lot of smart people on the Mariners, smarter than me, and maybe they see it differently.
Fair enough. I got one final question for you. It's not Mariners related. Will your New York Mets figure it out and finally make it to the World Series and beat out those damn LA Dodgers?
Man, I don't know. I don't know. They're just it's interesting. The Yankees let Juan Soto go. I say let him go, but they just decided they weren't going to bid as much as the Mets, and I think it helped them reach the World Series, reach the World Series, but to recalibrate their team. They were able to sign like Max Fried, and they brought in Goldschmidt and Cody Bellinger, and I'm not sure they would have done all that stuff if they had still had Soto. So I think in a way they were a better team because they let him go. The Mets are an interesting group, and with their owner who's willing to spend money. Although I do think, like every billionaire, there is a limit. And so for a while there, they were extending everybody that was there already. Like they Brandon Nimmo and Jeff O'Neill and and they were able to bring Alonso back, and after a while, you have these guys that are starting to fall apart, and you're still paying them, and so the Mets, they moved Nimmo, and it sounds like they might be willing to move O'Neill, and they really haven't won anything with them. And now Alonso, what do they do? Do they bring him back again? I mean, he's a great slugger. He's not a very good defender, and at some point, I think you'd be better off to move in a different direction. Now, whether the Mets see it that way, I don't know. But man, they could use some pitching. Like, they really could use some starting pitching. I don't know what they're going to do. Maybe they get Jacob deGrom back.
Hey, he's available through trades. Yeah.
Well, get him back and pay. Like, I mean, when he's healthy, he's great. He's still great. I don't know how long he's going to be able to keep it going, but he's. They need to do some more with their rotation. Again, they're talking about trading Senga. I'm like, gosh, what do you? Again, like, it just seems like they make moves and then they're just retreating from them shortly thereafter.
Yeah.
And so, they signed Edwin Diaz, who I think is great, to a 5-year deal, and then he opts out, and he's a free agent. And they brought in Devin Williams, and they probably brought him in because he has connections with the president of baseball ops, Stearns, who used to run Milwaukee.
That's right.
But like, they're still pursuing Diaz. Well, do you really need to? Like, I mean, I think Diaz is better than Williams, but do you really need both of those guys when you don't have enough starting pitching? I don't know. Why don't you work on that? So it will be interesting to see what they do. They certainly have the money.
Yeah.
Whether they're going to, I mean, the owner talks about what they want to be like the Dodgers. Well, they're not like the Dodgers. That's for sure.
Last question here, Luke. So this upcoming potential lockout in 2027, it would just be the Mariners' luck. Like, as we start getting good, that this comes along and wrecks everything. Do you see anything like a 94 just meltdown, end the season type of lockout? Or is this just a game of playing chicken? I
would think they're not going to lose a whole season or half a season like they did in the World Series, like they did in 94. My gosh, there's so much money. There's so much money for all of them to lose. The players, the owners, the media partners. It would just be amazing if they were that greedy. And I do think it would hurt the brand, the league's brand.
Yeah.
Particularly not to get into politics or anything, but we all know, like, there's a lot of debate about the economy right now. So let's fast forward a year. Let's just hopefully the economy is doing better and people are doing better. But what if they're not? What if there's still status quo or whatever? People are not going to care about, the millionaires versus billionaires argument. They're just not, because they're more concerned about paying their bills and that sort of thing, what they're going to get their kids for the holidays and putting, heating, paying the rent and the mortgage and whatnot. And so I think it would be awful if that would happen. And yeah, it's Murphy's Law, the Mariners will be just on the cusp. And it's like, all right, let's shut it down. And then come back. And, the guys forgot how to play baseball or something like that. But I guess at least the 29 other teams are in the same boat. So I guess that's what you've got going for you. So, yeah.
Right on.
So you got your newsletter, and I think what I'd like to do is, we're at the end of the show. Could you promote where people can find your newsletter and your social media, please?
Okay, so Mariners Consigliere is the name of it. Shout out to Paul Gallant, who used to be on 710. He used to refer to me as the Mariners Consigliere on his show. And so when I was looking for the name of what to call my newsletter, because I'm not very original and all the good names are gone, I thought, oh, okay. And then I mentioned to my wife, she said, yeah, that's not a bad name. So that's what I went with there. And so if you can just Google my name, it'll come, like, sort of, that's all that comes up is all my website and my newsletter, that is, and all my stuff that I've been writing. But it's lukearkins.substack.com. It's a free newsletter. You just subscribe, and it'll just show up in your inbox when I when I publish something like today, I published something this afternoon. It just shows up in your inbox, and that's it. That's it. There's no advertising, nothing. I just like to do it. I do it for myself. There's no strings attached whatsoever. My Twitter address is at Luke_Arkins, and I'm fairly active there. I haven't been as active here recently because there's just nothing to talk about when it comes to the Mariners, and I don't feel like rolling in on an opinion on every sporting thing going on in Seattle because nobody cares what I think about that stuff. So, yeah, so that's sort of what you can find me at. And like I say, the stuff I write is just stuff that I try to be original. I try to look for things that maybe other people aren't writing. I'm not, I like I don't know how many people are suggesting Ronald Acuna Jr. as a potential trade target for the Mariners, and he probably isn't. But I thought it would be interesting to at least talk about him and give fans another name to consider, and not just the standard names you hear from the national people. They end up getting regurgitated by the local folks. So. Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of what I do.
Awesome. Well, as we're at the end of our show, we always like to end on a shout out where we just talk about something that brings us joy in life or someone. Soulman, let's kick it off with you.
All right. I'm going to give a shout out to my beautiful wife, Janine. Tomorrow is her birthday. I just want to say happy birthday. I appreciate you for putting up with me for 31 years. So I love you, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend.
Fantastic. I'm going to give a shout out to my son, Vincent. We had Thanksgiving at the Space Needle. It's a thing we did. It's a lot of fun. Don't judge us, but it was great to have some time with him. Luke, do you have a shout out?
Yeah, I guess I already spoke to Bug, so I won't repeat that. But I have a friend named Sharon. She was my wife's best friend, and she jokingly says she has adopted me, and she was a great friend to my wife. I mean, the last 6 months of my wife's life, or 8 months, she was in the hospital 6 times, admitted 6 times, the ER, then admitted. And Sharon was just wonderful. She would show up, like they were coworkers. They worked together at the same law firm. And so after work, Sharon would come over to the hospital and relieve me so I could go home and get some sleep for a few hours. And then once Carrie went into hospice here at home, Sharon rode home with Carrie in the ambulance while I came here to make sure everything was good to go. And then once she was in hospice, Sharon would come every day here until Carrie's last day, and she would spend time with her, and she would even work from here. And so since Carrie has passed, Sharon has been really a lifesaver for me, because if you haven't been through it, you don't know what it feels like. And I'm glad about that, because losing your spouse is certainly one of the worst things that can happen to you. And having somebody you can talk to and reach out to is certainly been a blessing for me. And she's not the only person in my life that does that, but she certainly has found ways. It's funny. I watched this show in March called Afterlife. It was a Ricky Gervais show, and it's about a guy who had lost his wife to cancer, and it really was sort of dark. And it was really sort of depressing. And I remember I watched all of it, and I was just like in the worst place. And I just happened to be going to lunch with Sharon, and we had lunch, and she could tell like I was not in a good place. So she dragged me along to go shopping with her, just so I wouldn't be alone for a while. And it was great. I mean, we went shopping at the mall. She picked out whatever she was picking out. Then she dropped me off at home. And it's just like having a friend like that and a supporter like that has been immensely important to me over the last 15 or 16 months or so. So shout out to you, Sharon.
Awesome. And of course, a shout out to you, our very special guest, Luke Arkins. Thank you for being on this show and enlightening us on so many subjects here. And I'm sorry for your loss.
Thanks.
I do have to throw out there, we have 2.5 months till baseball again. So that's something coming up here soon. And I want to thank everybody out there for listening to us here on the Seattle Sports Union podcast on YouTube and Spotify. As well, I'd like everybody to check us out on social media. That's at Seattle Sports U on X or Twitter or whatever they call it nowadays. And of course, like and subscribe to us on Facebook and wherever. Where else are we, Soulman? Did I cover everything?
Did you say YouTube channel?
I did say YouTube. Yeah, like and subscribe to us there as well. But on behalf of the Soulman, Brian Solack, that damn Dirty Duck Matt Paige, myself, Abraham DeWeese, we'll see you guys next time.